raise that bar.
That extra gear, that first 3 steps.
Huge strides in the performance.
That I might not be the player I am today.
All right, welcome to another episode of Behind the Gear, and today we got Ryan Messier. And Ryan, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, "Hey, can you have some gear guys on and talk a little bit about gear and stuff?" So I got Ryan Messier with CCM. I've been with CCM for a while, and Ryan and I have had a bit of a relationship over the last bunch of years where I started kind of using more CCM products. And I'll be honest, man, it's been I really like the product. It's been awesome. We'll get into that a little bit more as well. But Ryan, how you been, man? How's everything been through this whole crazy times that we've been through? How you been holding up?
It's been all right. I think you just kind of grind it out and run the Groundhog Day situation kind of on a daily basis here. It's general's kind of quiet, but I think kids are they're hungry. They want to get back on the ice. I think minor hockey associations want to get back on the ice as soon as they can. So just from a country standpoint, we're really the only province not currently playing any youth sports, which I think it's tough. Not only are the kids not in school, they're not allowed to do anything physical. So I think it's more difficult for them. I think for us adults, we have built-in kind of coping mechanisms, right? We can deal with this stuff, whereas kids, they don't understand fully what's going on, and it's a tough situation for them to be in. They're going to be behind mentally, physically on development versus some of their counterparts in the country, and definitely against their US counterparts.
So yeah, you know what, it is nuts, man. Because when you think about it, like even North America wide, if we just go States and Canada, I mean, we're the only province with no golf, no basketball, no outdoors, like no tennis, like nothing. It's crazy, man. So the restrictions have definitely been limiting. And you're right. Like it's hard to tell your daughter or your son that, yeah, you can't go play with your buddies today. No, sir, you can't have a play date. Like you're following the rules. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people are kind of breaking those rules because it is hard, man. Especially if you got a only child, or you know what I mean? You want your kids to socialize and be with their buddies and stuff. So it is really tough for sure. And a lot of times we think of businesses and small businesses or big businesses suffering, like, you know, the hair salon, the hockey rinks, the restaurants, there's so many businesses, but a lot of times I don't think we think about the big CCMs, the Warriors, the Bowers. When you're in the hockey community, man, it's affected you guys big time as far as just moving gear and players playing and you know what I mean? Like, all these sports stores are just, starving for people to be able to come in the store and be able to kind of get re-geared and re-outfitted. So it had to have, taken its toll on you as well as being part of CCM.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough from a standpoint of how do you buy a given your current climate. It's you can't, there's no guessing. There's no rhyme or reason because none of us have been through this before. So stores struggle from an inventory standpoint of, I don't know what I'm going to sell. Do I on skates and sticks because those are necessities and kids don't necessarily need gloves every year. They don't need shin pads. They don't need pants or something like that every single season, which makes sense, right? And then from our standpoint, we don't just service Ontario or Canada. We service the whole world. So like we have to buy appropriately for other areas that are going to be playing hockey or are playing hockey or did play hockey. So there's stock outs in certain areas that we wouldn't normally have stock outs. I mean, even from a supply chain level, it's like we were stocked out on sticks. We sold
like there's none left. Like there's basically, if someone's
like there was at one point, if you wanted a Tax, a Ripcord, or a Jet Speed stick, you could not physically have one.
Right.
Sold everything. It was easy. Even our suppliers were having issues trying to get raw materials to build product.
Wow.
So that was the one thing that kind of kept our industry going, I think, to a certain point was stick sales, because kids were just training, and you and I were kind of chatting about it in hockey, and you shoot the puck 3 or 4 times. While you're training and you're practicing, you're shooting it a couple hundred times, or you're shooting it 500 times in your basement. I mean, so deprived and so starved for hockey that they're sitting in their basement hammering pucks at things and just practicing shooting and stuff like that. So they were going through more sticks naturally because they were just breaking down, not necessarily because they were breaking. It was just a pure breakdown. They were just being soft on kids.
It is interesting though, man, because you think about it. Yeah, there's so many more kids were practicing stick handling, shooting, outdoor rinks, things like that, because they couldn't get on the ice with teams. So you got way more puck touches, you got way more shots, you got way more wear and tear on those items like a hockey stick or even skates. I know another item that was, man, super hard to get were rollerblades. Even in the first part of this whole pandemic, it was, and they were flying off the shelves at stores, man, because the weather was starting to get nice. It was springtime. People wanted to get out, and there wasn't a lot that we could do. So, and I think this is North America wide. So I think a lot of people got back on inlines, and you're probably going to see a little bit of a resurgence in inline hockey a little bit, and just people just working on skating and skills with their rollerblades on.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, rollerblades were dead for so long, whether it was hockey style or recreational. And during the first part of that pandemic, it just kind of went crazy, and no one projected it. No one understood it. No one could have guessed it was going to happen. So no one had inlines to sell. And then the suppliers couldn't provide bearings. They couldn't supply wheels. They couldn't supply chassis, like the little bits that you need to finish an inline skate. No one could get them. So, I mean, I know for roller hockey from a guy who's played it since he was 15, there was almost 300 people registered just for London.
Really?
Like, yeah, we were like just shy of 300 people registered for the roller hockey league in London. So,
what would you guys normally be at roughly?
Like
half that?
No, I think there's usually about a couple hundred kids. And then there's usually 5 men's teams consisting of kind of like 8 players. So like, I think we were almost over 300. So like there was a bit of a resurgence.
That's awesome.
So, and then people are realizing like there's a lot of these high-end NHL guys coming out of roller hockey.
Totally. Yeah.
Like there's guys like DeBrincat, there's McDavid grew up playing. Like there's high-end guys that played, and all of a sudden, like you mean like a guy like Pat Maroon. I mean, I played against him the year he got drafted in a roller hockey tournament. Like a lot of these guys don't stop playing even after they're playing in their pro careers. Alex Hemsky played roller hockey his entire NHL career. He played for the Czech Republic in tournaments. So like a lot of these guys stay on it because you get more puck touches, you get more feel. It's a puck possession game. It's a control game. Whereas ice hockey, it's not a control game. It's a very segmented game within certain positions, and there's certain styles and systems that coaches want you to play. It's a little bit different that way, right? So
no, for sure. And that's one thing I think that a lot of people don't know. I played a little bit of inline when I was growing up. It wasn't big in Sudbury. I'm from Northern Ontario. It wasn't huge up there. But when I moved south, I got into it a little bit. A lot of my buddies in this area, Southwestern Ontario, played their whole way up. I played for, like Team Canada, played in tournaments, played in a bunch of different stuff. But the thing with inline, the biggest difference there is, you said it, like inline is a flowy game. It's a lot of glide turns. It's a lot of looping back and regrouping and attacking. There's no line. So you're kind of like, you got free flow of ice basically for the most part, right? As far as like, not as like blue lines, red lines and stuff like that. And then, the other thing with it that I like is, just like you said, you don't see dumping and chasing and inline. Like you're carrying the puck and you're making plays. So you're forced to like have a head up, be more aware on the ice. So for anyone who hasn't checked it out, I think it's something that is really, really cool if it's in your area. If your kid loves hockey, just can't get enough of it, but you want to get him off his actual ice skates and away from the rink a little bit, this is a kind of a nice way of almost a bit of a different cross training style, even though it's very similar to hockey. But there's a lot of things that players can pick up that'll help their game for sure.
Yeah, it kind of returns back to fun, right? It's less serious. It's a little more fun. The tournaments are a blast and stuff like that. Like kids can kind of check out from the seriousness of training for ice hockey and trying to make it to the next level and just purely go have fun with their buddies and stuff like that. So I think we'll see an uptick in that in general. But the nice thing is you saw an uptick in the training aspect of just roller hockey. You're on your rollerblades, you're in a parking lot on a smooth surface, doing something other than training specifically for your ice hockey game. So like you said, more shooting, there's more stick handling, there's more puck possession stuff that these kids are working on. So I feel like some other countries did a better job at developing small motor skills within their hockey players instead of just the big skating skills and stuff like that. I find Canada focused on a lot of, like, you're looking at some of these younger kids and they're developing higher end talent in terms of stick handling and vision and shooting. And we were kind of lacking. And that's where I think guys like yourself separated themselves from the way a lot of other people were doing things, because you were teaching the fine motor skills. You're teaching, you have to learn how to deal in a small situation. You have to deal with, how do you position your body? How do you move your hands and stuff like that? And I think that's where guys like yourself kind of got known, because you were that kind of player.
Well, and I think what happens,
like,
no, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. Yeah.
I just say, I think a lot of times what happens with, especially with skills and skill coaches, is there's so much like, just like you said, the kind of the macro skills, like the skating, the shooting, the puck handling, the sick moves, the dangles, which is all good stuff. Don't get me wrong, but man, is that stuff applicable to a game? I always go back to this, like any skills that we teach, how can we tie it back to a game? And sometimes, you maybe just break it down stride or break it down skating, and that's fine. But when you talk about stuff like that, like body position or getting a puck in your feet, making a play out of it, or getting a puck on the wall, those to me are all game applicable skills that maybe aren't like super flashy or super fun or super Instagram or social media, but those are the things that make players, and I think that's the big thing, and also too, I think you talk about McDavid and Brinkat and stuff. These guys are athletes. Yeah, they're hockey players and that's their sport and that's what they've excelled at and that's what they're playing professionally, but they are athletes. And we talk about this all the time about just develop good people, number one, and develop athletes. So let your players play a bit of soccer, let your kids get rollerblades, learn how to skateboard. I mean, you know what I mean? Like my neighbor had a pogo stick. I don't know if you've ever been on a pogo stick.
Yeah.
My son's hopping around the neighborhood on a pogo stick. I was like, that's it. Like, it's cool. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, be kids, man. Have fun. Do different stuff. Play basketball, whatever it is. And because, man, the more athletic you get, like you said, those little fine motor skills, they apply to different things. They apply to sports. They apply to a lot of different things. Just how you move your body, So I think it's huge. Real quick though, Mess, what's kind of your background? I know you played. I know you're a goaltender, which explains a lot. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. It explains where my body's let me go.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, for you, like you played a lot of sports, obviously growing up. You played hockey. You were involved in a lot of different things. So for you, kind of how'd you get involved in hockey, number one? And was it something that you kind of did your whole life as far as a young kid on?
Yeah, I did not come from a hockey family. I came from a wrestling and track family.
Okay.
So I was kind of late to that game. I didn't start playing hockey until I was like 9, I think. So I got into martial arts really early. I did that at a really high level for a long period of time. And then all my buddies were just playing hockey. No one else was doing what I was doing. And I just wanted to play hockey. And I think I played 1 year as a forward. And the next year I was a forward again. And then our goalie ended up quitting and my mom casually volunteered me. I liked it. And I just never left the net. I mean, I don't walk well for a 35-year-old, but a little bit earlier, but no, that was kind of my thing. I got into that. I stopped doing the martial arts. I mean, I did it like loosely, but I didn't do it as much as I used to do it.
Yeah.
And outside of that, I just kind of did a bit of everything in high school. Basketball, I played volleyball in high school and stuff like that. So like I was never like a single sport guy. I just could do everything. I knew at a young age I was never going to make the NHL, and that was okay. I wanted to play for fun. Played some junior C and stuff like that in Thamesford and Langton.
Awesome. Yeah.
Not many people know the Langton Thunderbirds. That's an old one.
Yeah, that is an old one. Langton.
Even Belmont, like no one really knows about Belmont either. Like I played in both of those places, but I think at 15 is when I started playing roller hockey, and that's where I kind of took things to a different level versus ice hockey. But I didn't play net in roller hockey. I was a defenseman in roller hockey, so I played the junior A and for London Fury. I played junior A in Kitchener. I did a lot of tournaments. Did some Team Ontario, some Team Canada stuff. So I still play. I still travel to the US playing roller hockey. It's kind of my same core group of guys that we've been playing together for the better side of 20 years now. So
that's awesome, man.
Most of us don't even play ice hockey anymore. We just play roller.
Yeah. So, now, are guys like Eric Varden and Belleville and those guys you kind of play with and rip around with?
We don't play in tournaments with those guys.
They're too old
with them and stuff like that. Like now that we're all 35 plus, we're probably likely going to start. So like what I think we're going to kind of do there is we're going to have like a 35 and over team.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of merge all the top guys on that team. But the rest of us will still have we have a team called the Ontario Blades. And like that team's been around since some of the guys were like 12 and 13.
Cool.
That's kind of our go-to team for the area. But it's even just like London guys. It's Sarnia guys. There's some Toronto guys. There's Kitchener guys that play with us. There's guys from Ottawa that play with us. We get the odd guy from Michigan that'll jump in with us that we've kind of known throughout the years and stuff like that. So we'll probably run a couple teams on the men's side, and then we were sending kids teams down. Like we took kids teams down from London to St. Louis for state wars and stuff like that. you represent Ontario and you play Missouri and you play California, every team is from a certain state. There can be multiple teams from those states, but like you all get jerseys supplied by the tournament, stuff like that you get to keep and take home.
Oh, cool.
It's pretty cool stuff. So like, yeah, like Varden and those guys, I know Belleville had a long kind of roller hockey career, and then he didn't play for a long period of time. And then he kind of recently came back to it with Varden and Sam Hill. And Danny LaRocque as well, who's a local guy. His daughters play doublettes there. So like he was a pretty high-end guy, and he still is a high-end guy. So it's cool that way to see the youth coming through, and then us old men kind of staying or coming back to it.
Yeah.
It's been fun that way. So you have to dust yours off and come out.
Well, it's funny. Probably 2 years ago now, I think Ryan Belleville reached out and was saying, hey, we're putting together a group to go. I think it was maybe over to Europe to represent Canada. They were just looking for guys who could probably afford to go potentially, and then had time to go, and then that could play. And at the time I was busy, so I was traveling a bit, and it didn't work out. But I was definitely something that I'm interested in getting back into. I just was talking to my son and daughter about it too. Like, hey, would you guys want to try roller hockey out? Because we're just looking at different things to get them to experience some different sports. And it's something that I think I'm going to try them out at it and just see how they like it. But it's also too, for anybody listening to this, there's these little and I don't want to call it underground because it's not a mainstream sport. It's not something that you're going to see like in the paper. You're going to see highlights of it on local TV. So, but man, if you do a little bit of digging in your own communities, you'll find some of these little like pockets of rollerblade, roller hockey groups. And it's like, just like you said, it's super cool. You get opportunities to travel a little bit. Like you said, the tournaments are fun. They're usually, the weather's wicked. It's a totally different sport to get into, obviously, but it can open a lot of different doors, and obviously some friendships that you've had since, like you said, 15 years old. You've probably still hanging out with some of the same guys that you played with back then now, right? So
I mean, you can even turn into a scholarship. Like Paul Town he's from London.
That's right, the tender.
He got a scholarship to Linwood down in St. Louis. He got 4 years of schooling on a roller hockey.
There you go.
So I mean, like Hawaii's got teams. Like you can go to some pretty cool places and go to school for a non-mainstream sport and still have the time of your life. Like there's pro leagues in France, there's Sweden, there's Spain. Like there's pro leagues kind of all over the place.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Now getting back kind of the CCM, like how'd you get into, because I know that you're always like, I think I first met you years ago at Western. I think you were helping out with Western, and you were kind of on the Western Mustangs men's team, and I got to know you a little bit there. And then obviously I've known you for a long time in and out of the different stuff that you've done, but I know you got into sales a little bit with some other companies with, some microbrews and things like that. But then how did CCM happen, I guess, getting that? Because I think for a lot of young kids out there that play hockey that are maybe 15, 16, 17, we always talk about ways to stay in the game, right? Whether that's becoming a sports psychologist or a doctor or physio or equipment manager, a skate sharpener, or whatever that is, right? But for you got like, how did that all happen to get in with CCM? Because it's obviously, I think a lot of kids would be like, I'd love to be a Bauer rep. I'd love to be a CCM rep, but they're hard jobs to get. They're not just like falling off trees, right? So how'd that all happen for you?
So I worked retail for almost 9 years at London Source. And prior to that, I was at Sport Check. Played against sports as well in town for a little bit. Then after that, I left London Source, went to Mill Street Brewery for about a year. And I actually started with CCM when the original rep, Bob Griffin, he was retiring. Me and there was like 400 people that applied for the actual rep job. And it started out, they actually went a different direction with the rep job. So I took a spot as a tech rep. So I would travel all over Ontario and Canada, training stores on the product, how to fit the product, how it works, what to look for, the tech side of things, how we develop it, how we build it, and stuff like that. And then the rep that had originally replaced the guy that had been around for about 35 years, he went back to his old position at a store as a buyer and now an owner. And I slotted into that position because I was the second choice, we'll call it. And I just I flipped over into that. So it's the positions are very few and far between. Like I said, like the guy that I've kind of replaced more or less he was with the company for 35 years.
That's crazy.
Turnover is very, very few and far between. Like it doesn't happen. These are positions that guys take for a long period of time. A lot of of us we're not in-house employees. We own our own sales agency. So like I own my own sales agency, so I can actually sell other product that doesn't interfere with CCM hockey as a complementary line. So like I would sell elite accessories. So like they would do like skate guards and skate laces, like it's complementary accessories. And I would sell bulletin product. So like Gitch and stuff like that, complementary to what CCM doesn't necessarily provide
Gotcha.
to the stores. So, and then after a couple of years, I started doing the pro services side of things. So I don't just do retail now. I do the pro services side. So I deal with the OHL teams. I got Kitchener, London, Windsor, and Sarnia. And then whenever the NHL guys are home, a lot of them come back here. I ended up dealing with those guys just to help other reps out that are the guy in LA or something like that. If he's got a guy here or out in this area, if he needs me to meet him and fit and do anything like that, I would go on his behalf. So he's not flying from LA to London, Ontario for a 15, 20 minute, hour long meeting type of thing. Right. So the pro services side of the business is very different than what the retail side is like. I wouldn't say it's as demanding. It's a different pace. It's the seasonality of things. Just, it doesn't stop. You don't just see guys and teams at training camp. You see them at training camp, and then you service them kind of all year and all summer long. They may not be long meetings. They may not be super crazy, but you're dealing with things constantly. It's hey, I want to try a 1/4 inch taller blade, or I want to, instead of building me a 59-inch stick, can you build me a 58-inch stick? Or I want to try a certain grip on my stick and stuff like that. Like guys are constantly tweaking sticks. They very rarely change any specs on anything else. It's sticks that are the constant tweaking point. Like McDavid really doesn't tweak anything at all.
Just plays
like old product. But you look at a guy like Matthews and even a guy like Crosby, who doesn't necessarily put things into game use right away. He does tweak and play around with different things to see if he could get better or he could try things. Yeah. Matt is always trying things. He loves gear. He's actually very knowledgeable on it. He understands what he wants and what he likes. He was the one who came to us. It wasn't CCM kind of approaching him. He was kind of going through some things and he wanted to try some stuff. And
yeah, because Matthews has switched out like different, like tried, like to your point, like he's gone to Power and tried, like once in a while you'll see him like using someone else's stick to try it out. And yeah, and I think a lot of these young guys are, you know, and you probably see it where a lot of these young guys know the product coming out before I would ever even know, or maybe like you even know. They got pictures of it somehow. They know that the new stick's coming out at this time. Like they're these younger kids in that Matthews generation and younger, they're up to speed on all this stuff through social media and the, you know what I mean? They know the gear, man, for sure.
Yeah, they're well educated on it, which is it's nice to deal with guys that are educated like that. They'll understand if you say like, listen, like may not be a great idea to try that, and here's the reason why. They can connect the dots.
Right.
Whereas some guys will just, if the guys that aren't as educated on product, and it's typically not the Matthews age group, the generation, it's the older guys in some cases, they see something and they just want to try it.
Yeah.
See a grip on a guy's stick. They have no idea why he has it, but they want to try it. Right. So, which is, I get it. I mean, we all want to try certain things if we can think, especially at that level. If you think it can give you another 5 goals is a couple $100,000 in a paycheck.
Yeah, it's huge.
That's a big number, right? I mean, and even at the OHL level, if you think a taller blade's going to help you tip more pucks or win more faceoffs, that could be draft spots that you're kind of starting to creep up into. Maybe instead of a 3rd round guy, you're a late 2nd because you perform better on a face-off than the guy that you were compared to. So like any little advantage kids can get now, like they definitely want them. They're looking for them. They're not willing to kind of sit idle and hope for the best. And I think that's why these draft eligible OHL players, they're looking at doing that showcase in Flint, Michigan. There's like 128 kids that are already going to take part. Every NHL team said they're going. It's the only way these kids can get noticed.
Yeah.
Oh, and good on them for doing it. I mean, unfortunately, the Ontario government wasn't going to allow them to get any seen in any capacity in Ontario or Canada. I guess just given how we've dealt with the pandemic a little more cautiously, but Flint, Michigan was like, yeah, absolutely, come on in.
Yeah, let's go.
Let's take care of it, right? So I know a lot of kids are going to kind of relish that opportunity. It's a small snippet of what you're going to be like, but at least it gives an NHL team an idea of how they could develop you or use you or draft you. I mean, I still think it's going to be a strange draft. I don't think we're going to see as many OHL kids go out of the high rounds unless you're just a bona fide stud who they knew you were going to be a first or second round guy. But what it really hurts, I think, is the late round guys or the guys that may not get drafted that potentially could have, because they could have had a breakout season in their draft year. Some guys just develop a bit late, stuff like that, right? I mean, we all have friends that we grew up with that bloomed late, and you're like, that guy played where? Like it's stuff like that, right? Like, like a Michael Hauser.
Yeah.
NHL 28 last night.
Two wins, man. 2 wins in a row for Buffalo.
Right.
Yeah, awesome.
Like,
yeah.
He's a guy who not drafted, not that. I mean, he had a successful junior career, but for whatever reason, he was overlooked by certain things. And now he's actually getting an opportunity to showcase what he can do. He might flip that into a longer career or a better opportunity in Europe or somewhere else. Right. So it'll be nice for these kids to just kind of show what they can do in some capacity.
No, definitely, man. And for those who don't know Michael Hauser, he's obviously a standout in the OHL, played for London Knights, but as a US boy and really good goaltender. But man, he was born with club feet and he's trained with us for years. So if you ever see him just walking in flip flops and stuff, like, looks weird, man. He had a ton of surgeries as a youngster and battled through it. But man, you talk about putting the work in, like this guy, and for him to play pro for 8 years and then finally get his opportunity to play an NHL game and start an NHL game and pull a win out and then do it again the next night. Like, so proud of him, man, and so happy for him. Just it's when you see the guys put that kind of work in and be just, especially when they're served maybe a bit of a, I don't want to say a bad hand, because I think if anything, that what he went through as a youngster probably made him stronger, made him more resilient, probably made him who he is now as far as going through surgeries and probably, let's be honest, probably laughed at and joked about and ripped on all the time in the locker rooms. You know what I mean? Like, think about it, right?
Yeah.
And man, like, yeah, it's so so awesome to hear that stuff. But to your point about this, about the OHL players, let's say you're an OHL player or 17-year-old going into your draft year, you have not played one hockey game this entire year as far as 5-on-5 contact, full on.
Yeah.
So that's tough, man. So getting a little bit of a showcase is nice, but to your point, it's not the whole sample size of what some of these players can do over the course of a season, but it still gives them a chance to kind of play and get in front of some eyeballs that maybe will have some influence on the draft.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's nerd out here a little bit. So like when we talk about CCM gear and just gear in general, so like, let's say for instance, sticks, like you talk about a Matthews. So Austin Matthews, you're looking at a high end CCM stick and with you, let's say you're dealing with a guy like a Matthews, what would you recommend for him? Cause his wants and needs as a shooter, the way he plays, the way he handles the puck, the way he releases the puck is going to be way different than like a Chara or, an Ovechkin or, what I mean? So like, when you think about it, what are some of the things there that you would suggest to somebody that likes to shoot the puck like him and likes to keep pucks in close to his feet and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why us and some of our competitors, we offer multiple kick points. Like we in our Ribcore, we offer a low kick point that's going to help promote quick releases and stuff like that. Don't allow the goalie to get set. And we offer our jet speed, which is more of that hybrid kick point. Wherever your hand is, that's where the flex is going to be on that stick. And then you have the tax, which is going to be your mid kick point, which is more of the guy typically the bigger guy like lining up on a half wall, taking a lot of slap shots and stuff like that, who prefers to load their stick instead of have that quick release. The nice thing with the Ribcore is the way it's shaped in the taper. All the fibers in the stick, instead of you having to load them, they're preloaded. They're pre-flexed. Okay. So that's why in a lot of cases you're getting such a quick release out of that Ribcore stick. But it's important to understand the player. You have to understand their needs, their wants, their requests, to a certain point, a little bit of the body mechanics of how they shoot the puck, like where the release is coming from. Like right now, like our jet speed stick, whether it's the FT3 or the soon to be released FT4, which Matthews is in now, it's kind of taking the league by storm. It's our quickest growing, we'll call it sub brand. Right now we're a Ribcore and a jet speed company, I guess. Like taxes are number 3. We just went through a booking period for our new Trigger 6 Pro and our AS4 Pro tax sticks, and Trigger 6 was booked like 5-1.
Okay.
It's a big gap, because I think the game is so fast now that the guy lining up on the half wall, he's such an anomaly.
Yeah.
Like a Stamkos and an Ovechkin lining up on the half wall. They're not just one trick ponies. They might do that on the power play, but that's not their 5-on-5 game.
Right.
So like they may not always use the same construction all game. They might switch construction specifically for a power play situation, or might go to a longer stick for a penalty kill up situation, right? So like there's guys that are, it's not always the same thing. In a lot of cases, you'll see sticks on a bench that are taped differently. They're taped differently for a specific reason, because the trainer knows something happens, he's got to grab that specific stick for that specific situation, right? So, and guys, and the grip situations too, like guys are getting tactile grips or getting extra grips so their hands aren't sliding, because again, you don't want to lose any sort of advantage that you might have over the next guy. If you're not as strong as the next guy, you're relying on your stick for that extra bit of grip so your hand doesn't slip, right? So, but from a technology standpoint, if we're gonna, I know you and I kind of talked quickly on price points at retail. The high end stuff, your $350 hockey stick, it is built out of premium materials. So we use a company called Sigmatex, and they make stuff for the Formula One racing world. They make stuff for hypercars and supercars and NASA and stuff like that. So like they have a different way of building their carbon fiber. They don't just lay it. When they lay it down, the fibers actually weave over with each other. So it allows you to layer less, bringing the weight down. Right. So in a lot of cases, our stock hockey sticks are lighter than other companies' limited edition sticks that they're starting to release and stuff like that. And that's, you can buy a hockey stick from us that weighs less than an ADV or an LE or anything like that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So,
okay. I'm going to pause you for 1 sec, because a couple things I want to unpack. If anyone's not sure what a kick point is on a stick, because if somebody might be listening, a mom or dad, like, what is that? So kick point is basically, if I'm shooting the puck and my bottom hand on my stick, I'm going to snap a puck. So I'm pushing on that bottom hand. Different kick points are where that stick has the most amount of like kind of flex and torque off it. So if I'm going to like a slap shot on a tack stick, you want kind of a middle kick point, so you can really load it in the middle and then hammer it out on that ice and get a good whip off that kick point. And then a snapshot, let's say, would be a higher kick point because your hands are a little bit tighter together. So that's, and the one thing I want to be clear with parents too is there is a massive, massive difference between a low end stick and a really high end stick. So when you're looking at a rack and you see a stick for $400 and you're freaking out because it's so expensive, which I've done, I'm like, whoa, okay, this is crazy how much these sticks are. But if you are a shooter and someone who plays, or someone that plays high level, you grab a $400 stick compared to any other company, doesn't matter who it is, but that midline stick or a low end stick, it's a massive difference. Not saying that the lower mid is not a good stick for a certain style of player, meaning if I'm playing men's league once a week, I'm not going to spend $400 on a stick if I can get a really good stick for half that price. But for the players like a Matthews or Crosby's or Ovechkins, these guys that are shooting pucks, playing a lot, they can tell right away on if a stick is garbage or if a stick is good, obviously, right? So I think it's something to be clear on for parents. And realistically, man, just as a skills coach, I would say a lot of these young kids, their technique isn't good. They're just learning how to shoot. So getting a good stick is really important, but breaking the bank on getting a stick, if you can't afford it, don't worry about it. But as they get better and they are like high level AAA at, Pee Wee Bantam, then it is not a bad idea to invest in a good stick, man, because it is a really important piece of equipment, obviously. And it does make a difference on that, I don't want to say always price point, but on those higher end sticks.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, your top two price points on the senior end, you're at like $239 and $359. So it's $120 difference. But on those top two price points, you're getting elite level sticks. Typically, our second price point is the previous year's high end with a couple tweaks to it to make it a little less expensive. It's still a full carbon fiber stick. In this case, if we're going to talk Trigger 5 versus a Trigger 5 Pro, Trigger 5 is our second price point. It's still full carbon fiber. You just don't get Sigmatex. On the next level, at the Pro side, you get Sigmatex, so it brings the weight down and it performs a little bit better. It improves your balance points slightly. Right. But your top two price points, they are built for performance. So if you're at that level where you need to perform or you want to perform, that's really where you want to be. Our third price point, that's typically what we would use for like what a lot of we do use our third price point at the pro level, because certain guys actually, believe it or not, prefer that construction. Some guys don't like the high end constructions. They like old constructions.
Right. And
our third price point typically is a couple years dated from a construction standpoint. But even at that 169, 179, you're still getting a way better hockey stick than you would have been when you and I were seeing East first enter the game, right? So that's the nice thing about it. You're still going to get some performance aspects. You're still going to get a good feel, good weight, good balance. Balance is something that's not often talked about in a hockey stick, but when you hear elite level players talk about a stick being blade heavy or top heavy or anything like that, or it's, even though a stick could be from a gram standpoint heavier, it might feel lighter because it's more balanced throughout the stick. Balance is quite important, because a lot of
any way to check that out. If I was just grabbing a stick off the rack, is there any way that a mom or dad could kind of see how well the stick is balanced? It's hard, right? It's more of a feel.
No,
stick,
a
right?
lot of it is done by feel. Our balance points are, we do measure them. We put them on our high end sticks. There's a sticker on our high end stick that gives you kind of a breakdown. We put our balance points inside of our catalogs too. So if you're ever in you want to kind of, if you have questions that maybe aren't normal, the store can always refer to our catalog and kind of give you information that maybe they don't have quickly, or they can't remember. So, but typically, like, you want the balance point to be as close to the middle as possible. I mean, you don't want it to be too high or too low. In a lot of cases, some of these guys are picking up super light sticks and saying, no, it doesn't feel right. It's too light. They can't feel where their stick is on the ice. They don't know if their stick is on the ground or if it's quarter of an inch off the ice and then the puck starts sliding underneath you, right? So that's where balance point becomes important. We talked about balance points a lot more than some of the other brands did. And we were kind of starting to win a lot of those battles. Like if you see our stick usage at the retail and pro level now, like we're the number one stick.
Yeah.
Overall in terms of usage. And you can kind of see that at most levels now.
Yeah.
Our retail shelf space is huge. Our pro shelf space is huge in a dressing room. And it's guys they're coming to us now. Like our product is so good now. Guys are coming to us saying, hey, like we want to try, or we've heard this. Can you build us samples? Like Shifley's in FT3 Pro sticks. He's been a Warrior guy forever.
Yeah.
Talking about how quick Warrior was getting him samples and letting him try sticks and stuff like that. And he's been using FT3 Pro sticks in the last couple of games. So we're seeing more and more guys kind of come our way. Like Johnny Goudreau, same thing. He's in our sticks. Like it's Phil Kessel, who was in an old Easton stick for a million years, went through everything and everybody, and he stuck our sticks.
Yeah.
So we're starting to win a lot of those battles within the dressing room. In today's climate, you're not actually allowed in the dressing room at the NHL level, so it's a little more difficult to work on stuff with guys. It's all text and phone call and Zoom. So some of our pro reps find it's a little more difficult, and there's not as much sampling going on. Guys aren't changing product as much, so it's been a bit of a weird year that way. But we are seeing some noticeable changes. I mean, one of our big changes was on our SuperTax X helmet that we have coming out this year. It's going to sound scary, but it's a $500 retail helmet.
I saw it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the technology behind it and the protection story as well as the story of it cools your body down for you. So we partnered with a company called Carbon, and it's a 3D printed liner that we put in basically our 910 shell. And what it is, it's got a bunch of little we call them nests. It's little hexagons, and it's really, it promotes airflow. So we actually showed it to Rob Blake and Craig McTavish, and McTavish was one of the last guys in the NHL to not wear a helmet.
That's right. Yeah,
that was one of the reasons he didn't wear a helmet, because his body just overheated. Rob constantly got told to take his helmet off in between shifts to allow his body to cool down again. So you're losing less weight because you're not sweating. Your body's recuperating quicker, in between shifts, so you actually feel fresher longer. Seth Jones last year actually wore it in that game where he played 60 minutes. Last year when he, like, I think it was like 3 overtimes, whatever it was. And he said, he was like, I actually felt a noticeable difference in my body come the third period versus the third overtime. Like, my body still felt better and fresher. Like, he wasn't getting hooked up to a million IVs and jamming pizza down his throat, because he felt better come that late in the game. When you're playing that amount of minutes, your body kind of goes into shock and panic mode, because it's got nothing left in it, right? So to have testimony like that is really
And I don't mean to cut you off. I want to make a point of this, because a lot of people listening are probably like, okay, like, as if a helmet airflow guy could play more minutes. But when you think of that level, not a level, that compete level, any little advantage is massive. So you talk about like, let's go back to sticks real quick, but the thickness of a blade. Back when we played, man, blades were skinny, they were fat at the toe,
you had one option.
Yeah, and now there's max blades, and they're thick. You can win better draws on them. You can tip pucks. You're better on the wall with them. Like, any little advantage for a player is massive. So something like this may sound crazy to that like 9-10-year-old parent who's got a 9 or 10-year-old player, like, as if, right? Totally, that makes sense. But man, as players get more elite and as players get better, any little advantage they can get to conserve energy or sweat less or recoup quicker is huge. So go back to it. But I think this is really cool, because these are all ways that technology is changing the game, right? And even like, you think back on a wood stick, snapping a puck or taking a one-timer compared to a full composite, what we have now, night and day. Like, night and day on the release.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
how fast it is, Yeah.
One-piece hockey sticks completely changed the body mechanics of shooting.
Sure.
Hockey sticks used to shoot off the heel all the time because the blade wouldn't flex there. Whereas now everything is off the toe, because it's a quicker release, it's a more efficient release, it's a better shot.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no rolling or anything. It is all off the toe. So now you're pulling in and you're releasing. It allows you to lean on your stick more to get the stick to do more work. The biggest trend right now in the stick world is flexing down. So 75 flex has almost become the new 85 flex.
Yeah, for sure.
Guys don't buy 100. Like, the 4 OHL teams I deal with, I didn't have a single guy using anything stiffer than a 95 flex. I mean, I had Steklov in London. He's 6'3", 6'2". He's a 75 flex hockey stick. So like, a lot of these guys are going down to flexes that they may not have gone down to in previous years. It's just, let's let the stick do all the work, and my mechanics will do the rest of it.
Yeah. It's so huge, man.
I mean, but if you look at like from the SuperTax X helmet standpoint, if you look down the Calgary Flames bench, I think we have like over 70% of that team in that specific helmet.
Okay.
Leafs, like guys like Spezza, Muzzin, guys like that typically wore like old Easton helmets and stuff like that, or a Warrior helmet. They've switched over into that. Like, they've switched over into our SuperTax X helmet. Like, Matthews has been in it for over a year now. Tavares, a lot of our guys have, and guys that are with other brands have switched into it. It's kind of taken the NHL by storm. At one point, I think we had just over 200 orders for helmets, for SuperTax X helmets.
Crazy.
Players, yes. Like, it's a big number, and guys are noticing just the benefits from a fit standpoint. I mean, at that level, they're getting, we actually scan the player's head and we build them a custom shell that is shaped to their exact specifications of their head.
And the shell's the inside, right? Like the shell.
The liner. Sorry, the liner.
Liner.
Like,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The shell is the plastic piece that you see. We build them an actual, like, a 3D printed full custom liner.
Okay.
That fits them just like a glove. Like, we met with Dylan DeMello. He plays in Winnipeg. He's a London boy. We met with him in the summer. You were there. We scanned his head while he was there to build him a custom liner. So that will eventually make its way to retail, much like scanning your feet has kind of for custom skates. So to take things to a whole new level for that elite level hockey player. But I think hockey's different from a lot of sports, where the golf world, the product is designed specifically for the PGA player, because they have to meet PGA regulations on clubhead speed and ball speed and so on and so forth. And it just gets released into retail. Whereas the hockey world, we develop the product differently, right? Because there's not as much regulations in terms of what needs to be done. A lot of it on the helmet side of things, we're not building it just to look cool. It's fully functional for more protection. So you're getting more protection, plus you're getting more performance out of it. So it's a little bit different that way, right? So like there's so many things that we have to take into consideration when developing a product.
Yeah.
Like a one-piece boot on a hockey skate. We tested for years with like the University of Calgary and some other schools that have high-end biomechanics and kinesiology labs that could test how much pressure your foot can put on a certain area of the skate on a one-piece boot versus a two-piece boot. So we could quantify how much more energy you can transfer on a one-piece boot versus a two-piece boot, because on a one-piece boot, there's no flexing of a midsole. So on a two-piece boot, you have an outsole, then there's the boot, and then there's a midsole. So you actually have 3 layers, and those 3 layers are attached with glue, staples, and stuff like that. So there's flexing that goes on between the and your foot.
Yeah.
On our boots, it's a one-piece boot, and then you have a midsole, which you have to hold rivets in for your holder. So you're transferring more energy. You get better feel on your edges and stuff like that. So it is actually giving you a quantifiable performance advantage because you can feel those things. And that's why a lot of players are switching into our skates. Like I had a conversation with a kid who's worn Bauer his entire life, and he is like, Mass, like everybody's talking about your one-piece skates. It was actually Panarin who was pushing him towards it. And he said, can you build me up? Can give me a sample? Yeah, I can build you a sample, no problem. It's like, and in a lot of cases, these kids are trying them and they're staying in them.
Yeah.
It's not just a fad for them. They don't want to just try it and see. Like there's kids that have been drafted by OHL teams that haven't reported yet that I've been dealing with they're trying, they're texting me. It's like, Mass, like I actually felt faster. Like I felt better. I felt like I was turning cleaner. I felt like I knew where my foot was on my edges and stuff like that. So it's something that players are feeling now. And at retail, more and more kids for a long time were Bauer. They like their Bauer skates. Bauer built a great hockey skate. They still build a great skate. But now we're at a point where we're starting to encroach into that market more heavily. So now it's almost more of a 50-50 or a 60-40 split. Whereas 6 or 7, 8 years ago, it was like 80-20.
Right.
So with the advancements that we've made in the technology standpoint and the materials we use and our fits and stuff like that, we're kind of neck and neck right now in terms of the overall industry on the skate world. So
I know even from like for me personally, I wore Bowers for a long time, and then I was talking to you and I tried the CCMs out, and I remember getting them. They were sharp and ready to go, but they hadn't been heated up yet because I just grabbed them from the store.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to get them heated. And I was kind of excited because I like love getting new gear. So I was like, this is cool. So I'm like, I had a couple hours on the ice. I was like, I'll try them out for an hour and just see right out of the box. I didn't heat them up, nothing, just pull them right out of the box, put them on, tied them up, went out for the hour. Feet felt great. And they're wearing for 3 hours out of the box, never even heated them up ever. Because at the end of the day, just for people that don't know, heating them up is awesome because it makes that fit quicker. But realistically, you can still mold that skate just by wearing them, like old school style that I used to do. We never heated our skates. I just wore them out of the box, and then, but man, they killed. You get blisters. They sucked, So heating them up is way better for that fit, no doubt. But I just started wearing them, and I never heated them. They were unbelievable, man, and I never had any pain. And there's days where sometimes, I'd be on the ice 6 hours, or I have my skates on for 6-7 hours and nothing. And I know that, and I love Bauer too. They had, so you said they had a great skate, but I'd get hot spots. I'd have, top of my eyelets would hurt my ankles, or the bottom of my foot on the outside would hurt. So I had to get them popped out. It was just annoying. And I've had probably 3 or 4 pairs of CCMs now over the years, and they've all been unbelievable. Like never had any pain with them, which is awesome. And that's a testament to the technology improving, obviously things getting better. But I tell players this all the time. If you don't know what you don't know. So if you have an opportunity to try a different skate, or you're playing in the OHL, or you're playing college and CCM reps there, or the Bauer reps there, like it's not a bad thing to try it and just see what you think. And also too, like you said, like word of mouth is huge, and I've talked to a lot of players about, they're like, oh man, my feet are sore, something's going on. I'm like, well, try this, like try a CCM skate out, just see what you think. Like, and a lot of times guys will try it out and like, man, these feel awesome. I'm like, they're great. And we're pumping CCM here a little bit, but a lot of brands are good, obviously. And like you said, I think Bauer and has come a long way over the years. There's no doubt about it. But realistically, man, CCM, I think back when I was young was a pretty big brand. I think the skate part of that brand kind of fell off a little bit with Graph coming in heavy and Bauer coming in heavy. Easton even had skates for a long time. And then over the last probably 5-6 years, I think CCM's come leaps and bounds on their technology and what they've done with the skate and the boot. And for me, the most important piece of gear for any player is the skate, man. You got to be able to skate to play the game. There's no doubt about it. I think stick is second, and then all that other gear. Helmet's huge, obviously, for protection and stuff. But if you're talking just performance wise for a player, I think skates and stick are massive. So finding that right fit is huge, and making sure they hurt and they feel good, and you get the performance that you want out of it, I think is massive.
No, it's huge. And the one thing about our, like at retail, we do a program with our stores. It's a 90-day fit guarantee. Buy it, try it for 90 days. If you like it, keep it. If you don't like it, we'll just take it back.
That's cool. That's really cool.
It's kind of a built-in demo program. Like I keep a demo fleet of all of our skates. So like I have access and I'll drop them off at my stores and they have access to those. Like, I mean, $1,200 on a hockey skate. It's a tough commitment if you've never been in that brand or you want to spend that kind of money. So if you get the ability to try it out before you buy it, I mean, why not, right? It's kind of like buying a car. You don't just walk onto a dealership and buy the first car you see. You test drive a couple things, you do your research, you see what you like better, take one for a weekend. It's kind of the same situation with skates, right? So, I mean, it applies for skates $250 and up. So, I mean, you get a 90-day fit guarantee on even our mid to entry level skates.
That's awesome.
All the way through the works. And that's helped us huge. A lot of cases, kids are coming back and they're saying, you know what, I had a jet speed skate last year. I give me the jet speed skate. I want to stay in it. I like it. So we're developing, we'll call them CCM kits. Like they're head to toe and they're turning into repeat customers, right? That's where they want to be. And like our skates are thermoformable. So when we talk about baking them, they heat internally and they heat externally. So the outside of the skate actually becomes super, super soft. Like you can, to the point where you can take your thumb and you can make a thumbprint on the boot. And then once it cools, it goes back. Right. So they're really molding around every kind of shape around your foot. That's kind of like why you said that's probably why you're not getting hot spots, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Absorbing that Bauer bump that you have in the back of your heel and stuff like that, or it's molding to that weird shaped bone that you had when you broke your foot when you were 18.
Yeah. No, totally. That's and that's the thing with technology today. Like it's crazy, man. I remember having those bunga pads and band-aids and just blisters everywhere trying to break skates in. It was the worst thing ever back in the day. I'm showing my age here, but now it's like putting on a slipper. Like it's unbelievable. Yeah. Now I don't want to keep you all day, and I really do appreciate your time, but I want to ask you some questions for myself. Selfishly, I always kind of say this, like this podcast is more for me than anybody else. So I could learn more stuff. But like, let's say someone's at a sports store and you're looking at skates, and what's some advice that you would give to a parent with a kid going in to look at skates, and what are some things that you're looking at with that skate? What are some things I'm looking at with my kid's foot? Right. Cause that's another thing too. My kid's got a wide foot. My kid's got a skinny foot. My kid's got, so what are some things some kind of key pieces of advice that you would look at just for kind of fitting a skate, or what I should look for as a parent if I'm bringing my kids in for skate fitting?
Yeah. You really kind of want to assess what your expectations are. Like, do you want a skate that's going to perform at a high level, or do you want something that's just going to kind of fill a void for a couple months because they're going to grow out of it, right? You want to, back in the day when I was growing up, you bought skates that were probably too big for you because you wanted to last, right? Which was, it is what it is. It was that was the time we grew up in. But I know a lot of people used to just put fingers on the back of your skate, like, that'll work. But the problem with that is everyone's finger's different. So my finger could give you a size and a half, and your finger could give just a size. Yeah. So you really want to make sure you're fit properly, and you're fit you're not fit in the skate that necessarily looks the prettiest. You're fit in the skate that fits your specific foot shape the best, because that's where you're going to get the best performance. Like, to a certain extent, guys could wear a Tax or a Jet Speed and a Double E because those fits would kind of overlap with each other, because you're going to a narrower fit, but you go to the wide version of it. Right. So what we're doing, like, we're going to have a fit. We're going to have a regular fit, a wide fit, and there's going to be a tapered fit. But you can buy Ribcore and Jet Speed right now in any of those fits in your top two price points.
Okay, so basically, because I know back like 5 years ago, it was like, well, if you
Yeah.
have a wide foot, get this one. If you have a weird heel, get this. Like it was kind of like the brand of this, or like the let's say a
The sub brand of the skate.
yeah, right. It was kind
Yeah.
of like this type of foot, this type of foot. Well, what you're saying now is each brand, sub brand, is going to have different fits. So like
Correct.
any a wider foot, a narrow foot, whatever is going to be able to fit that brand with the different sizing you guys have now.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what's going to determine what you get into in terms of sub brand now is what flex do you want in the skate? Like we're actually going to start talking flexes and skates. So our rib core, it's always been our softest boot. It's for the guy that is a very east and west player. He's constantly changing direction. You look at a guy like a Crosby, he's been in a rib core skate for a million years because soft that boot is. He feels he can manipulate that boot better than he can in some other ones. And then you're going to have our jet speed, which will be a slightly stiffer boot. And then you'll have our tax, which will be our stiffest boot that we produce. So it all depends on what your comfort zone is in terms of stiffness. You have to take into consideration, how much do you weigh? How much do you play? If you play once a week and you're a 35-year-old guy that weighs 165 pounds, well, maybe you don't want the tax in a tapered fit, even though it fits you. It might be too stiff. It might take too long to break in or whatever it is. Or maybe you want to buy that one because you don't want to buy skates for another 10 years. So
yeah, good point.
You want to consider, right? But at the minor hockey level, when kids are growing, as much as it hurts to accept, like there's going to be a year where you're going to probably buy 2 pairs of skates. And most of the time, 1 pair of skates is going to get you through an entire season, but you really only want about the width of a Bic pen in the back of the heel, because a Bic pen is actually 3/4 of the size.
Okay.
Laid it down on the skate Brannock to measure feet, and your toes are at a size 6, you could comfortably go to a 6.5 and give you growth room. I mean, we don't do quarter sizing at retail, so you would typically go to a 6.5. You wouldn't push to a 7.
Yeah.
You want to make sure you're not fitting specifically for your big foot either. We all have different size feet. Sometimes it's a quarter of a size, sometimes it's a full size difference. But you can't fit just for the big foot. You have to take into consideration the small foot, or else you're going to cause problems in your smaller foot, or you're going to add unnecessary steps to a stride. Instead of having a 2-step stride in terms of getting your foot to lock, you might have a 3 or a 4-step stride now, because your heel's coming up, then your toes are coming back, and then your foot's locking, and then you're pushing with the rest of your stride.
Yeah, so too much movement there, right?
By having a skate that's fit too large.
Yeah.
So you do definitely want to, maybe you don't want to go to performance fit at 12 years old because you're still growing. But when you're at that 15-year-old level, your feet, your hands, and your head are typically done growing. So that's when I would start to do performance fits on boys or girls. Girls, you can actually probably do a performance fit a little bit earlier because they stop growing those extremities before the guys do typically. But that's kind of when you want to start getting into that performance fit. And the high-end skate shops all talk about performance fits when you're at a certain age, and that's kind of where you should be. I mean, I do see, like, I've dealt with kids playing in the OHL. They're in a size 10 hockey skate, and I'll fit them in a size 8.5.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Like and some of that is because their options are limited on where they can buy from, or they're buying it online because they don't have a local store, or they're coming from certain areas of the world where you fit for comfort instead of performance. Like in a lot of places, like some of the European places, they sell a lot of double E hockey skates and wide hockey skates because it's the easiest skate to fit, because it's comfortable right away. There's never any pressure points. It always feels good. I get a kid who's in an 8 double E, and I'll flip him into an 8 regular because his lace pattern is super narrow, and he's complaining his skates are breaking down all the time. And that's one of the main reasons is you're not fit properly, because you don't want, the last thing you want to do is spend $1,200 on a hockey skate, get fit him properly, and have premature breakdown. Because I mean, it looks bad on the skate manufacturer.
Yeah.
Because it looks like our skate has failed, even though it's actually a fit issue.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. And the one thing I really want to punch home with parents is, don't buy skates too big, man. Make sure the skate fits, and it's got to be a bit tight. It's got to feel snug on a boot, or snug on a foot. A lot of times kids will be like, "Oh, it's too tight," or it's got to have a good snug fit. You don't want any movement in that skate. I always tell parents, like, It's like me selling you a pair of running shoes that are a couple sizes too big and telling you to go run.
Yeah.
Like, I might feel comfortable for the first like kilometer. And then after a while, start sliding, you get blisters, feels like crap. You're moving a lot. You're not being able to like change directions very well because your foot's slipping. So for young kids, especially, like you said, I like that big pen or like kind of a pencil in the back type thing, just to give a visual, but just a small little area that you have room for growth there, but it's still a good enough fit and a snug fit that you're not going to be sliding around or moving around too much, which is.
Yeah. The most important thing too, is that I focus a lot on heel lock, because the skating stride is very different than your regular walking gait. There's no heel strike in a hockey skate. Thing is sprinting, right? Everything is done off the ball of your foot. So if your foot's not locking in time, it's because your heel's not locked in place. So as soon as your heel's locked in, the rest of your foot will lock properly as well. So you want to make sure you're locked in the back of that heel. And that's like at the pro level, a lot of the times we're doing double thick ankle pads, or we're putting ankle donuts in guys' skates that sit further back inside the boot. So it helps promote that good heel lock. Like a lot of times guy will walk in and the common misconception with a lot of people is I've got a wide foot. I get it.
Yeah.
You have a for comfort, but it doesn't necessarily mean you need a wide hockey skate. If we can lock in that heel, the forefoot becomes inconsequential. The forefoot becomes narrower because your foot's locked in place and it's not flattening out. If your skate's too big, your foot's going to be flatter out because the built-in shape of the arch inside the boot is further forward. So it's going to elongate and flatten your foot. That's why things like Superfeet and Curex insoles and our insoles help promote heel lock and prevent pronation and supination. So like pronation's when you roll in, supination's when you roll out. Pronation is the most common. Supination is not very common. It's more for the guys that are bull-legged and stuff like that. But if you can help promote that locking, it helps your stride get that much faster. Like it's called a subtalar joint that controls the lateral play in your foot. And that's where you want to promote that being locked in.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's ton of really, really good information, man. I think, yeah, you're right. Just locking that heel in, I think is massive, man, for sure. Now let's say we move over to sticks. So we'll keep it kind of simple for today, but like, let's say I move over to sticks. I've got a young player who's decent, playing AA, playing AAA, playing competitive hockey, kind of like that 12, 13 years old. Cause I think at younger ages, for the most part, 9, 10 kids can start to rip pucks or shooting pucks pretty well. So that may be, kind of the time where you're investing a little bit in a hockey stick. But as they get older, what's some advice that you would give to, a parent, again, looking at a stick rack? Maybe I have my son or daughter with me, maybe I don't, but I'm like, oh man, what am I looking at here? So what are some things, like just real simple stuff that I should be looking at? I know, like flex points, all that kind of stuff, but and I guess some part of maybe visually looking or thinking about what kind of player is my son? Like, is my son a big defenseman who likes to, throw hammer slappers around, or is, what are some things that you
you definitely want to consider position. Back in the day, they used to push certain sticks for certain positions and stuff like that, and certain curves. That's kind of gone out the window. Like curves are super important, but it doesn't mean a defenseman can't use a big P28 McDavid hook.
Right.
That's kind of gone. We're talking about like little kids, you kind of mentioned it, at 10 years old ripping pucks. Like, we've developed sticks specifically for that. It's on our jet speed line. Like, you can get a 10 flex hockey stick. Like, we're 10, 20, 30, 40 flex sticks, and we build them with the same high-end material as what you would spend $360 on a stick. So, like, they have that Sigmatex. So now it's promoting the kids learning those proper mechanics at a young age without having to rely solely on the curve or flicking the puck. Now they're actually getting the full range of motion, and the puck's coming up into the air naturally now. So you definitely want to consider, like, flex is really important. That's why a lot of guys are flexing down. They're realizing that if I can get the stick to do some extra work here, I might get the puck to the net quicker, or I might get a heavier, faster shot out of it because I've gone down in flex. The loose rule of thumb is your flex should be about half your body weight. That's like a loose, quick rule of thumb. But I'm 185 pounds and use 70 to a 75 flex stick, depending on the construction that I'm using. Yeah. So, and construction is very important. It's like you said, what kind of player are you? Are you a guy who likes to take slap shots? You have time to take slap shots. The game is changing so much that slap shots are really becoming irrelevant in our game outside of being on the power play. Like even guys on the point, they're not taking slap shots. They're taking snapshots. They're loading at the waist instead of loading at their shoulders. So it's a very different game. And I think that kind of speaks volumes to why mid kick sticks are becoming less popular.
Right.
It's the low kick stuff. It's the hybrid kick points. Like if you like a guy like Matthews, he's in a jet speed line, and you see where he releases pucks from. His hands could be super close together. They can be really far down, or they could be at the midpoint of his stick or at his natural shooting position. He still has the quickest release in the game because he's fully using that technology to his advantage. So you definitely want to consider all that stuff. Like flex is going to be king, obviously. Secondary is going to be what construction. And then after that, I would say curve might be your third tipping point. Curve is also, it's obviously going to be important, but I think depending on how you cut your sticks, like things change. Like people talk about lies on hockey sticks, but the problem with that is every brand measures a lie differently. So our lie 6 is not Bauer's lie 6.
Right.
6 is closer to the end. And then you have to consider a curve too. A lot of these curves are dual lie curves. The lie changes from heel to toe. And then when you're buying a stick that's a lie 6, stock hockey sticks are typically 59 to 60 inches. Well, now what's your lie look like when you cut 3 inches off of it? It's not the same anymore. You've effectively changed the lie of that hockey stick because it's shorter, or you lengthen it. Now it's going to be further away from you. So now you've lowered the lie of that stick. So lies are a little bit less important in today's game. I know guys do ask about it, and we do make different lies at retail, and then at pro we have a P90 curve, which is the old Sakic. It's the most popular curve in the world. It's basically that P29 or Crosby curve, but we would make a P90 -1. We make a P90 plus 0.5 or +1. So like that +1 or -1, that's one lie lower than the stock. So like a -1 would be a lie 5 for us. So,
and real quick though, to just touch on this. So just so people are following along, but a lower flex, let's say a 10 flex or 20 flex means you're gonna have way more whip on that stick. So 100 flex would be a very, very stiff shaft. And the other thing you got to keep in mind too, if you buy an 85 flex and you cut it down, you're going to make that stick a little bit stiffer. And a lot of times on a lot of the sticks, they have kind of that little bit of a measurement on the back where it tells you if you cut here, it's going to turn into an 85 flex or things like that. So keep that in mind, parents. And when you're looking at sticks, if you add an extension in a stick, so let's say you're going to add a little bit of length to a stick and you put in an extension in the end of it, you're going to make that stick a little bit whippier too. So just kind of keep in mind on how you manipulate your stick a little bit. The lie, for anyone who's not sure, is basically if you have a stick in your hand and you just hold it right down and you've got the blade on the ground, just normally like you're skating, that's that blade, a lie 6, that the front of your blade will be kicking up higher. A lie 5, it'll drop a little bit. If you think of like Wayne Gretzky, he played, I think, with a lie 4, right? Mess, like it was a really low lie.
Really low lie.
Really hunched over the way he skated, the way he played. So he needed that blade to be closer to the ice. So lie 4, let's say, would bring that blade. If I just had it in my hand beside my body, my blade's kind of sticking up in the air, a lie 4 would bring that toe of my blade closer to the ice. So, and to your point, Mess, I agree. I don't think the lie is as important, because now the way we're teaching players to hold a puck or hold a stick and with a puck is keeping their top hand up a lot. We want that blade flat. So you can manipulate your lie by just how you control your puck and your stick with your body. If that makes sense. You know, if I drop my hand, my toe is going to pop up. So my lie is out of the, my lie is irrelevant anyway. If I get my hand up, now I get that blade flatter, and I'm right on the ice. So I think a lot of it comes down to how you play the game, how you skate, and how you hold the puck and hold your stick or control the puck with your stick. So as basically what I'm getting at is, as a 12, 13-year-old parent, I wouldn't get too overwhelmed with the lie. I would really, like, to your point, a lot of guys don't really care. A lot of guys aren't overly concerned about it. But it is something that'll be on the stick and something to look at, and you'll see it on some sticks where it'll tell you the lie of the stick. And that's kind of what it means.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like I said earlier, not all brands measure their lies the same. So that's the other thing.
It's good to know, because a lot of times I wouldn't have known that. And because there's probably no standard for it. And even flexes, like you can grab a flex from, let's call it. And some of the companies go weird, like an 87 flex and a 92 flex, which, okay, whatever. But really, if let's say a 90 flex, 90 flex, 90 flex with 3 different brands, you're probably going to grab each stick and push on it and have a different feel to each stick.
So well, and each construction is going to feel different too.
Sure. Yeah, for
sure. Like a 75 flex feels different in a rib core than it does in a tax.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's going to change as well. You may not want a 75 flex in a rib core, whereas you had a 75 flex in a tax. You might want you might want to go to an 85 instead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and even for our sticks, like on our high end stuff, like we're offering 70, 75, 80, 85, and then we go to 95 flex. Like, so we're offering in between flexes that no one else is typically offered at retail.
Sure.
So that's something to consider as well. You have a few more options for flex with us as well.
Yeah, no, which is great. And I think, like, this might sound overwhelming to parents, and it shouldn't be at all. Like, there's a lot of professional or a lot of, great people that work in the community in these sports stores that can help you out. There's no doubt about that. So don't get too overwhelmed with it. And at the end of the day, if you take one or two things away from this, like, I've got a son and a daughter that like to play, and I'll go and grab them like a 30 flex and whatever the curve is, doesn't matter. And let them shoot around with it. Like, they're young enough right now that as long as it's got a bit of a curve on it, it's got some whip to it, some flex, they're fine. Like, it's totally fine. But as they get a little bit, more advanced, if they like hockey and they get into it more and they want to play at a higher level, then that'll be something that I'll bring them into that fold on, meaning you're going to come with me. You're going to test out some sticks, or you're going to try them out. I want you to feel it. I want you to see what you like and what you feel. And I'm not talking 7, 8 years old. I'm talking like 12, 13, 14. I think that they should have some say on it as well. You know what I mean? But as parents,
for sure.
As parents, I think it's really important for us to be a little bit educated on stuff, just so we're not, I'm not coming home. Like, I remember my mom came home one time with 2 right-handed sticks. My brother and I are both lefties. Like, Mom, we're like, it's the wrong hand. We can't even use it. You know what I mean? Like, so it's just like having a bit of an idea of, what you're looking for. And, don't come home with your 15-year-old kid with 100 flex stick. It's just, that's going to suck for them. You know what I mean? So I think it is important to kind of get a little bit of information, but man, I could talk to you about this all day, just kind of nerding out on gear. All we really talked about was like helmets a bit, and then sticks and skates, which I feel are the most important. But I know you guys have everything, like head to toe, under gear, the whole nine. But we don't have to get into all that. But man, I really appreciate it. And for you guys now moving forward, like how, and when we look at a stick right now and it's like $400, just from what you said today, for me anyways, it makes sense. I'm not saying I'm justifying that a skate's $1,200 and it's $400, but there's a lot of R&D that goes into this stuff. There's a lot of research and development that goes into these products. They're not just
huge.
You guys sitting around a table being like, it'd be cool to make this carbon fiber. Yeah, let's do that. Like, there's a lot of time, right?
Just from like a helmet standpoint, we work with the University of Ottawa, and the NFL years ago gave Harvard a grant to do testing on concussions. Mm-hmm. What causes them? Why are we seeing such an uptick in concussions, so on and so forth? Harvard turned around and said, well, we don't have the ability to test that. And they gave a bunch of money to the University of Ottawa. The University of Ottawa has probably the best facilities in the world for diagnostics on concussions and trauma to your brain and stuff like that. Like, they actually had the ability to take the Mark Savard hit that ended his career.
No way.
Dissect it on how hard it hit, what the angle was, what the trauma was. Did the helmet have anything to do with his concussion? And like they dissect all of this stuff. So we work really closely with them when we're developing new product. So for a long time, the foam inside of a helmet that was the most popular, because it was, at that time, it was testing the best, is EPP foam. So it's expanded polypropylene. It feels the same and looks the same as a bike helmet, which is expanded polystyrene. Bike helmet built for one impact. Fall off your bike, hit your head, throw it out, buy a new one. EPP is built for multiple impacts. So it absorbs the impact multiple times. Now we're finding that EPP works best only in certain areas of the helmet, where a VN foam, so like a vinyl nitrate foam, like a softer foam, actually absorbs and disperses impact better. So you'll look at like our 710 helmet and our 910. In a lot of cases, it's got VN foams instead of EPP foams. And then on our tax helmets, we have little impact pods that are filled with like an oil. So it doesn't matter how cold it is. It's not going to freeze or anything. It's still going to act on impact. It helps the rotational impact. So the quickest example on how to explain this is when you're driving a car, you come to a stop sign. There's two ways you can stop. You can hammer the brakes and come to like a horrible head jerking stop, or you can slowly apply the brakes and come to a comfortable stop. So those impact pods inside the helmet, that's what is going to help slow the impact on the brain and disperse the impact throughout the helmet. So I don't think no one will ever get to a point where they can say, hey, like, this is a concussion proof helmet, and you have to be careful on your wording.
Totally.
These helmets are designed to help lessen the odds of you getting a brain injury. They're not built to completely eliminate it. It's like buying a shoulder pad. You could spend all the money in the world on a shoulder pad and still separate your shoulder.
Definitely.
It's to help protect from the major impact of a hit or fall into the boards and stuff like that. A shin pad's not going to stop you from blowing your ACL out or breaking your leg.
Yeah.
There to help lessen the risk of it. So, and that's, I think our industry has done a very good job in, whether it's us, Bauer, a different competitor, explaining that to people on helmets. And some people are expecting to spend $300 on a helmet and the kid's not going to get concussed. It's just not the reality we live in, unfortunately.
Sure. So
it's going to happen. It's unfortunate, and there's nothing where we are doing as much as we can to help prevent it. And that's where the University of Ottawa comes into play with us, and they work with other industries and stuff like that as well. So like Carbon, that company, they're being used in F1 helmets and NFL helmets. The impact pods are being used in NFL helmets by different brands and stuff like that as well. So like a lot of the stuff that we're developing in the hockey world is also being developed simultaneously for other high-end sports. And we're almost kind of sharing information to help protect kids and play and professional athletes kind of across the board.
Yeah, which is awesome, man. And that's I mean, that is huge. And I think you're bang on. Like, there's no such thing as a concussion prevention tool, you know, unfortunately. I think that comes back to, this is a whole other conversation, but I think that comes back to coaching and skill development, on ice awareness, keeping your head up, you know, where you are, not putting yourself in tough positions, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's going to happen, just incidentally, it's going to happen. You're going to run into somebody or drive the net or whatever that is. And it's going to happen. But man, the better products you're wearing, the better, you know, I mean, the better helmet you have on, you know, the obviously more protected you're going to be, which is huge. And it is cool to hear kind of what CCM's doing and what they've got going on with their.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately does lead to higher priced product, because like hockey companies spend millions upon millions of dollars in R&D on helmets, sticks, skates, so on, and like goalie product. Like it's millions of dollars. And the trickle down effect, unfortunately, on a high end product is, they're priced higher, but you're also getting better performance, better materials, better fits, more protection and stuff like that. So it definitely does help that way.
Oh, it's cool, man. Well, listen, buddy, I really appreciate it. I was just thinking about too, when you just said that about goalies too, like that's another thing that I'd love to touch on, or even if you have someone that I can reach out to on the goalie side of it, just to get more information for all the goalies out there that do love geeking out on goalie gear and love the new stuff that's coming out. A chance to chat with them a little bit about it too. But I really appreciate you coming in today, man. This is awesome to get a chance to chat with you and kind of see what CCM's got. And I know we just scratched the surface, so we could probably do 8 hours of this, do a full day of just product stuff. But this is great, man. Mess, I really appreciate it, buddy. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, if any kind of questions pop up from some of your students or viewers or anything like that, then we can always kind of circle back, and I can just send you some notes, or we can jump on a quick Zoom and go over any of those questions that kids have or anything like that.
No, it's great. And if anyone that's listening to this has any questions on any stuff that Ryan's talked about today, feel free to leave, you know, any kind of notes in the comments or any comments that you have. And I'll reach out to Mess and get some answers for you for sure. But once again, buddy, thanks a lot. That was awesome.
Yeah. Good to link up.
All right, buddy.
All right, stay safe.
To kind of raise that bar.
That extra gear, the first 3 steps,
Huge strides in the performance.
that I might not be the player I am today.